Hey guys, I want to show you how to use the blend tool today and a couple of other really cool features that you can do in Illustrator. So the blend tool is located right here on just underneath your gradient tool in your toolbox. To demonstrate this, I'm just going to take an object. I'm going to draw this little starburst here and I'm going to say no stroke, and I want to fill it with a color blue. That's fine for now. And let's say that I want to do an elliptical object, and I'm going to give that a different color. Let's say I'm going to give this little pink magenta color here. So what this tool does, it allows you to blend from one shape to another in a step variation basis. So I select them both, create my selection. Then I select this tool. If I double click on it, I can do a smooth color transition, but I like to do the specific steps. Let's say that I want this object to blend 25 steps. I'm going to hit OK. So now you need to tell the program from which anchor point to what anchor point do you want this blend setting to start from. So I'm going to pick, let's say, just randomly, this anchor point here. Now notice that when I have this cursor, the icon for the blend tool, and the inside of that box is just hollow. But when I mouse over the actual anchor point, notice that it changes to a dark shade, meaning that I'm creating a selection. So I click with the mouse to select that anchor point. And I say I want it to blend 25 steps from this anchor point to this anchor point of my next object. And when I click on that, it will generate my blend. This is really neat because now I can grab my indirect selection tool, select that object and stretch it out, and I can really see exactly how it's starting to blend from one object to another. Now, if I view this in outline view mode by going to the view, outline view mode, all I see is a path. And what happens with a path? I can modify it. So I can go back in here into my pen tool family, select my anchor point tool, and give that an anchor handle. And now my blend is on a curve, and I can curve my blend settings. That's pretty cool. So now I can tell it to blend in this fashion. If I wanted to see of even a much more smoother transition, I select them both again. I double click back on the tool, click on my preview, and tell it instead of 25, let's do 10 steps. Tab key so I can just see the changes without having to apply it first. I can tell it to do this kind of orientation, or I can say a smooth color transitions just to create a smooth color radial blend instead of actual step by step. Or I can just do a distance and say just blend at a, I don't know, let's say 0.75 of an inch distance, and then it blends within that space. So I have all these options here. Specific steps makes it look really unique. So I'm going to just say back to 25 steps and hit OK. And that way I can see the transitions. Now let's say that I want to have access to all these vector paths. Let's say that I kind of like the way it's transitioning in this form. It makes it look like a little bouncing ball. If I want to have access to all these vector paths, notice that in outline view mode I do not. All I have to do is go to the objects menu and hit expand, and it breaks it apart. So now that I can hit ungroup, and now I have all of these individual pieces, and I can see all the different transformation happening. And notice that there are a total of 25 of these from the very beginning, from the original artwork to the morphed blend object. So yeah, it's a really neat feature. So now go ahead and select and delete that. I want to show you another really cool feature. I want to get back into the actual width tool, and that has to do with strokes. So now I'm going to have my stroke set to black, and I'm just going to create an elliptical here, and I'm going to increase my stroke to let's just say 2-3 points here. Now what the width tool is, it allows me to change the actual parameters of the actual stroke in a directional setting. So let's say that I just want this effect here like that, and I create a unique format of my stroke. Now if I view outline view mode, all I see is the vector paths. Again, back to preview mode. Now if I hold down the option key, I can click on one of these little dots and say only change the outer perimeter and not the inside one. So again, I can go back in here, I can select any one area from any of these aspect points and change the actual width of these strokes. If I want to see the vector paths of all this, all I have to do is go to the Objects menu, go down to my path, and tell it to outline my stroke. It's kind of like expanding it. Outline my strokes. Now I have access to all the anchor points, but it does generate a lot of little anchor points. Okay, so it's another really cool feature that Illustrator offers, and you can manipulate shapes and designs in that way. All right, so another thing that I want to show you guys is the actual shape builder tool. The shape builder tool, it kind of works like the Pathfinder Unite tool. So let's say that I have multiple shapes. I'm just going to randomly draw some elements here on my document, some kind of a, I don't know, pattern. And I'm just going to give them, different, not strokes, please, just fills. And I'm just going to randomly choose colors so that you can see these different objects on my document page here. Okay, now that looks like there's some other color I already picked. Let me see if something like purple. So I can select them all. Then I choose this actual tool here. Now I'm going to tear this off. So I'm going to talk about these guys here. So what this tool does is that it can combine shapes as you overlap them. Notice that when I highlight an actual area, it shades it in for me. So I can click and drag an L shape like this, and it'll combine just those items alone, as opposed to the Pathfinder palette. If I select these items here, for example, and just hit the Unite, it combines everything. I'm going to edit, undo that. Undo add. So with the shape builder tool, I have much more control and telling the program I only want it to combine from this region to this region where all these objects overlap, and only combine those shapes. So I have much more control over this than to actually just select it all and combine everything all at once. I can set my actual combine features to anywhere that I choose. And check it out how it looks like in outline view mode. So I combined this piece right here together. I combined this one right over here, and so on and so forth. And I did this little L shape. So you can create some really awesome effect that way, and that's what this tool does. The tool next to it now, if I have this selected, this tool here next to it allows me to change colors. Now notice that I have this yellow selected, and now here I am on my swatches palette. Since these were all custom shapes from the shape builder palette, I don't have all the other ones that if I was to select the colors from the swatches. So let's say, for example, I select that bar and I choose this yellow, and then I select this L shape one and I choose the green. Then I choose the magenta. Then I choose the orange. So now that if I select these guys and go over here into the yellow light, notice that it finds me. It locates where that color is on the actual swatches. And then I can hit my arrow key to the left or my arrow key to the right. And it's kind of like tells me the colors that I have from the actual swatches palette. Or I can hit the down arrow or the up arrow. And notice how I'm jumping around in the colors options inside my swatches and say, yeah, select that color. And I hit the arrow key again, and I say, or the up arrow key, and I say, yeah, I want that color. And so that's what this tool does. It's just a fancy way of coloring it. Okay, and that takes care of the shape builder tool and the shape builder objects and their families. Okay, so now, guys, I want to get into